సరే మీరు రికార్డ్ చేస్తే ఓకే సార్. సార్ అయిన తర్వాత ఒకసారి ఆ రికార్డెడ్ కాపీ పంపిస్తారా సార్?
సరే సరే.
ఆయన అడిగారు పొద్దున్న.
సరే విజయ్.
సరే సార్, నేను ఇప్పుడు ఆయనకు ఒకసారి ఫోన్ చేసి మీరు జాయిన్ అవ్వమని చెప్తాను.
ఇంకా టైం ఉందిలే, ఇంకా 10 minutes టైం.
ఆయన పావు గంట ముందే ఉంటే ఇంకో 5 నిమిషాల ముందే వస్తారు సార్ ఆయన. సరే సార్.
40 years old ఇండస్ట్రీ కదా.
అవును సార్, ఫుల్ స్ట్రిక్ట్ ఆఫీసర్.
అట్లాగే.
ఓకే సార్,
థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Hello.
Dr. Vijay just joined it.
Oh, okay.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Prof. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon and welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me clearly, Prof? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. It's clear, sir.
Shall I try to share my screen?
I will introduce you, sir, first. Then afterwards you could able to.
Okay, then. I just want to test it. Is okay or not? I want to test it.
Okay, sir. Sure.
You need to allow me. You need to allow me to share.
Now you could able to share, sir.
Still disabled.
This.
Dr. Vijay, you can hear me clearly?
Yes, Dato, clearly.
Very good. Yeah.
Dato, can you please check now whether I can able to share?
Yeah. Can I just try to go to I think it's good.
Yeah.
We'll start in another 5 minutes.
Okay. Do you want me to stop my sharing?
No, sir. You can.
Okay, then.
Prof. Ramarao is my well-wisher when I was there in India. Dato. Like he supported me for everything.
Oh, very good indeed, Dr. Vijay. And unfortunately, for 2 years you haven't gone back yet.
Yeah. Hopefully by this year ending, I may.
May not be unfortunate, sir. He is fortunate enough. The present situation is very bad in India.
Yeah, Prof. But in Malaysia also still very bad. About 20,000 cases a day.
Here we do not have too many cases, sir. Cases are very less.
Right.
Cases are less.
I think the problem is with Kerala state, I think. Am I right, Prof?
Yes, sir. Because of that Onam festival,
Yes.
wherever this festival is taking place, naturally it has been increasing, sir. Or otherwise, if everybody follow the social distance and mask perfectly,
Yes.
we are not exposing to the issues.
Right.
And that being the pharmacist, we should create the awareness and we should go to the public. And but the most most unfortunate thing in India is these pharmacy professionals are afraid of the COVID.
Oh, they're being afraid of the COVID, is it?
Yes, yes. Yes, sir. Students are getting assembling, sir, because we assembling in seminar hall, sir. There is.
I can see them, Prof. I can see them coming in. I can see them coming in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now they are in the regular classes, offline classes.
Yes.
Now
I would love to visit your institute, Prof.
Yeah, it's certainly, sir. Certainly. Now we have the direct flights, sir.
Oh, Kuala Lumpur to.
Yeah, probably. Earlier we had, sir, but now during the COVID time they lifted out, I think. Now they may introduce once again to Malaysia to
Vijayawada.
Vijayawada direct flight.
Okay then. Okay.
Today one direct flight is introduced from Vijayawada to Muscat, sir.
Have you been to Malaysia, Prof? Have you?
No, sir. Beyond Delhi, I have not gone anyway.
Please come and visit us.
Definitely, sir. We invite you.
Yes.
Here, and let us have this faculty exchange program, and we do organize several of such activities.
Yes. I'm sure Dr. Vijay can. He's staying in a very big condominium. He's got plenty of space for you to stay with him.
Yeah, yes.
Are the classes online, Prof? Or your classes online, or?
No, sir. Now, because here we are under the autonomous, sir. This institution is under the autonomous.
Right.
And irrespective of the university academic calendar,
yes,
we could be able to run the classes. Now what we did is 2021 all examinations through offline is completed, sir.
Okay.
Offline is completed, and now from the August last week onwards, we commenced offline practical courses, sir. First, we started with the practical courses. We want to finish it off all practical courses by the end of September or the first week of the October. Then okay, we would like to, if everything is good, just like this, we would like to continue both the theory and the revision of the practicals. Because though it is inconvenient completing of the practical at the first stage and doing the theory later, but it is inevitable, sir, or otherwise the students may miss the practical courses.
Okay.
Because of that, we did experimentally during the second COVID time.
Yes.
And we succeeded in that. The students are also very happy in conducting the practicals during the second COVID time. And we conducted all practicals during the second wave of the COVID, all practicals through offline and theory classes online, sir. And we are also satisfied, and students also much satisfied. And because of that, we have been continuing the same set of the exercise during this period also. Now we don't have that too many threats, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, right now we don't have too many threats, but here and there the cases are getting recorded, but not much difficult, what I feel. Death rate is not much.
Okay. I think in Malaysia the mortality rate is about 1%,
Yeah. Good, sir. Good.
About 1%, 1 to 1.5%. You know, but at the moment there are no flights allowed into Malaysia from India. They don't allow any flights in. So that is the problem now. I think there is all India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and interestingly UK. Even UK, they don't allow flights to come in.
Because of the Delta variant, I guess. So
Maybe because of Delta variant.
Now, sir, one more thing is throughout the world, mortality rate is reduced enormously, sir.
Yes.
Because of either vaccination or by the much care by the public.
Yes.
But whatever the reason, but anyhow, unless we are very cautious, we will be in trouble, sir.
Very true. Very true. I think even after vaccination, must take care. I think. Yeah, Prof. Yeah.
10
minutes.
Start with
in our region, Chalapathi College is one of the most reputed college.
Okay.
According to the standard wise.
Yes.
They have both PharmD and BPharm.
Yes.
Masters and even the masters is mixed mode.
Yes. It is good. Yeah, I think the PharmD will be interesting for us to learn. You know, Prof, I understand you all have the PharmD program, Prof.
3 minutes. 3 minutes close.
He is talking to someone.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Only 40 minutes extended.
Vijay.
Sir.
One small request. Once again,
yes,
can you please, sir?
Yes.
Yes. Sir, can you reconnect once again, sir?
Reconnect.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. So I'll leave the meeting here.
Yes.
Sir, very good afternoon, one and all.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I feel proud to invite Professor Datuk, Dr. Alan Matthews, Dean, Quest International University, Malaysia, who has very high level of the qualification with BPharm Honors, MSc Clinical Pharmacy, PhD in Clinical Pharmacy, PhD Operations in Management, Graduate Certificate Sales Management, and a Graduate Diploma Marketing UK, who has been associating with almost 8 organizations like Pharmacy Board Malaysia, Royal Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain, and Institute of Quality Malaysia. More of this, who has put up almost 55 years of his service rendering towards the pharmacy profession. It is really very great enough. And in fact, we feel proud. And I profusely thank Dr. K. Vijay for creating this good connectivity with the Professor Dr. Datu, and who has been associating with the Faculty of Pharmacy, Quest International University as a dean in the capacity of the dean since 2015 for almost 15 years. And it is not a small issue. 15 years as a rendering as a dean successfully, it is very great. And who has almost teaching, research and work experience for almost 40 years, and whose major research interests are like community pharmacy practice, quality of medicines along pharmaceutical supply chain, impact studies on clinical pharmacy service, and TDM. Whose teaching interests are like clinical pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, pharmaceutical marketing, for almost a dozen of pharmaceutical activities, who has been associating with the consultancy service since 2014. And for his credit, he has 12 research publications and almost 6 to 10 international speaker. And this institute, Chalapathi Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, which is an autonomous institution, which is established in 2004, sir. Almost when you became the dean of this international university, and we started this institution. And we got all Indian accreditations like NAC, NBA, and we are under the autonomous by the UGC. And we have an international MOU with one international university, that is Maryland Eastern Shore University. We have been organizing collaborating activities like student exchange and faculty exchange programs, and sharing of these collaborating activities, sharing of these research activities. Now we are expecting a good collaboration with Quest International. This is going to be a small beginning with the Professor Datuk. Once again, I thank Dr. K. Vijay for creating this sort of interface to interact with the Professor Datuk, and I feel very proud to introduce Professor Datuk to all the audience. Now I request Professor Datuk to continue this his discussion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Rama Rao. And thank you for inviting me to share with you my thoughts on this topic of bridging the gap, pharmacy education and practice. So I bring greetings from Quest International University, Malaysia, and from the Faculty of Pharmacy, which is a program where our program, the Bachelor of Pharmacy program, has been accorded the excellence status by the Malaysian Pharmacy Board and the Malaysian Qualification Agency. Very, very few institutes in Malaysia have been accorded this status. There are 21 schools of pharmacy in Malaysia, only 21. And very few have been accorded this status. Again, I would like to wish to thank Professor Dr. Rama Rao for giving me this opportunity, and also to Chalapathi Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences. The topic which I'm going to discuss with you all is based on the Malaysian experience, and which may or may not be in line with what's happening in your own institute or in India. So coming back to this topic of bridging the gap, pharmacy education and practice, basically, we look at the traditional approach to pharmacy education is basically the academic input, academic knowledge to our students during the 4 years of the Bachelor of Pharmacy program. And we will leave the practice aspect to the time when they do the internship or to the time they do the housemanship or the pre-registration training before they become a registered pharmacist. So there is normally this trend, which is quite common. And I must tell you, when I came into full-time pharmacy education, what my own experience in the hospitals and so on gave me this thinking of how to bridge the gap. So my topic today, my agenda today, hang on, I'm trying to move the slide. Yeah, my agenda today, I will share with you my own background, which is relevant to this topic of bridging the gap. I will then look into what are the problems involved with the pharmacy graduates in Malaysia and sharing with you all what are the stakeholders' general feedback. Then I will share with you my thoughts on pharmacy education, the conventional way of pharmacy education towards the holistic way of pharmacy education, especially in line with our own tagline, that is real world holistic pharmacy education, and how we at the faculty is trying to approach pharmacy education. And I'll also share with you how we at the faculty is trying to incorporate experiential learning within the 4 years Bachelor of Pharmacy course. And I must say that this is very unique, even in the whole of Malaysian pharmacy education. We have developed a program which is very different from any of the other faculties in Malaysia. Experiential learning has become a big challenge in COVID-19. I'll also share with you how we are addressing this. And whatever we are doing, if we do not get the right feedback from the stakeholders, then maybe we are not on the right track. I'll share with you how about our own pharmacy graduates and what the stakeholders are thinking about them. And probably share with you all what is the international pharmacy practice direction, which is actually evolving at a very fast pace. And we'll have a session for Q&A as well. So my own background, I actually graduated with a Bachelor of Pharmacy from the first school of pharmacy in Malaysia, that is the Science University of Malaysia, in the late 1970s. During that curriculum, that time, and the curriculum that we have developed is vastly different. During that time, the emphasis on basic medical sciences was very minimal. You know, we're talking about anatomy, pathology, microbiology, biochemistry, immunology, and biochemistry. These subjects were very minimal, whereas now it is one of the major components of our pharmacy program, consisting of 16 or 17 credit hours. Now, this to me is very critical because at that time when I graduated and registered and start serving in a hospital, there was definitely a gap between myself and the medical graduates. and there was a gap in terms of communication at the same level, because their understanding of basic medical sciences were definitely much, much more than myself. And during the time also, clinical pharmacy was coming up. Yes, we did attachment to the government hospital. We did have courses in clinical pharmacy, but they were very minimal number of courses. So that was way back in 1970s, and probably even the content is vastly different, and the extent of the content is also vastly different from that time. After graduation, I served for about 14 years in government service. And at that time, you are the only pharmacist in the hospital, and you are aided by pharmacy assistants. These are actually graduates of a 3-year diploma in pharmacy program, and they did all the necessary work in a pharmacy, including dispensing, including production, compounding, and so forth. So the pharmacist was in supervisory type of a role, but it also allows me to get into the ward and try to contribute a bit in ward rounds with the doctors and so on. At that time, it was also already moving to that direction. Subsequently, I was transferred to a general hospital, and I set up the pharmaceutical production quality unit. At that time, all products were manufactured within the government, because the private sector was very still new in Malaysia. And at that time, we set up a whole production setup for injections and non-injections, galenicals, and it was mass scale production. See. Subsequently, I was fortunate enough to be given a government scholarship to go to the UK to do my master's in clinical pharmacy. And that type of training was already in progress, clinical pharmacy in the UK, and a lot of experiential learning in that particular program, where you spend 1 month in each practice area and so forth, giving me a lot of confidence. It's only during that particular master's program I had to do the whole anatomy course together with the medical students. And that was really good, because then you have a good understanding of anatomy as well. After coming back, I actually set up clinical pharmacy services, which required me actually to communicate at the specialist level with the medical specialist. And I realized that after coming back with the master's in clinical pharmacy, I was able to communicate with them at the same wavelength, and was able to implement clinical pharmacy services in the government service. But I realized also that the confidence level of the medical graduates was very good. And thinking back, medical graduates training is very different from the pharmacy one. The year 3, year 4, and year 5 of the MBBS program, they spent in the hospital in practice-based education. And after that, they got another 1 to 2 years of housemanship. So basically, they have 4 years of practice-based education before they become a registered medical practitioner. Whereas for pharmacists, you do 4 years in the university, and you only have 1 year of housemanship or pre-registration training before registration. So there is a gap there. And you can notice the government, the medical doctors' confidence levels are quite good once they're already a registered medical practitioner. I'm sharing all of this before coming to the point that what drove me to rethink, is there any way we can also change our pharmacy curriculum? Subsequently, I spent about 22 years in the pharmaceutical industry. This was mainly on good distribution practice, good storage practice, pharmaceutical operations, ISO certification, sales and marketing. So I was involved in about 22 years in the pharmaceutical industry. And I'll share again, what are the feedback that we got from the pharmaceutical industry, which actually pushed us to try to change our curriculum as far as pharmaceutical industry is concerned. I have 7 years of consultancy. I'm still a consultant to a pharmaceutical firm in Brunei. And for that, I do in warehousing, distribution, operations, training, setting up of a customization unit, GMP certified. I'm involved still with consultancy with this particular company in Brunei. Into academia, in actual fact, I started having part-time academia when I was working in the industry, and mainly for MBA students in the subject of operations management, focusing quite a bit on pharmaceutical operations management. And for the last 7 years, I'm in full-time pharmacy academia. What came to mind was there seemed to be a disconnect between pharmacy education and practice. And at that time we used to say that it looks as if after our degree, there seemed to be a cultural disconnect. You get a cultural shock. After the degree you have, you register yourself as a pharmacist, and the actual work that you carry out, there seems to be a disconnect as well. So looking at the feedback, what made us as a faculty to try to re-look into our curriculum. And one of the main things was the feedback that we obtained from stakeholders. They were telling us that the pharmacy graduates of today, they seem to be lacking in confidence. They are unable to articulate knowledge in the workplace. There's lack of proactiveness. And their presentation skills and communication skills are not up to the standard. And because of this, sometimes the pharmacists, especially in the clinical pharmacy area, tend to stay back a bit and don't come to the forefront in order to contribute towards patient care. Because if you don't have confidence and you can't articulate knowledge, or you can't present it well, and lacking in communication skills, there's very little likelihood that you can contribute towards patient care at the same level as the medical professionals. So these are the feedback that we were getting. And in the pharmaceutical industry, again, they're saying our graduates who come out, there's lack of depth of knowledge. They say they have to train them again. So this is the feedback we got when we were first trying to develop our curriculum in the university. So this is the feedback we got. And recently, we also got feedback from a general hospital in Malaysia. And the same issues which I laid out just now, in terms of confidence, in terms of unable to articulate knowledge, presentation skills, the same issues are still happening to our pharmacy graduates. But we were concerned with our own graduates. And because we already got the third batch came out this year, so we went to talk to the chief pharmacist where one of our students was doing the housemanship or internship. And we were pleasantly surprised when the chief pharmacist told us that even though there are 14, 15 housemen in that hospital, our graduates seem to stand out in terms of confidence, in terms of contribution, and so forth. So that was a good pointer to us. Appears that we are moving in the right direction. Our graduates can also do the housemanship in the community pharmacy. And again, when we visited one of the community pharmacy, and without asking about how our student was doing there as a houseman, the pharmacist stated that he had many housemen, but my graduate is the one outstanding. So again, it appears that what we are trying to do appearing to bear fruit. Now, I'm showing these entry qualifications in Malaysia, which may be different from India. Yeah? In order to enter the pharmacy program, the requirement is the same for the medical program and the dental program. They must have a minimum of 3 Bs at the A levels. I'm talking about Cambridge A levels or equivalent. So those coming in, actually they're very smart students. So if they are so smart students, yet we have this problem of confidence, lack of proactiveness, and so forth, there must be something else that the program is not doing to address these concerns. So they know they can learn up the material. When the exam comes, they can reproduce whatever is required. But when they're transferred to the real world, there are many issues happening. So again, our faculty deliberated on this and how can we address this? So in order to address this main aspect of confidence, presentation skill, articulation of knowledge, continuous learning type of a mindset, we have developed a pedagogy, which we call it process-driven, problem-based learning. Process-driven, problem-based learning. And basically we are talking about small group student learning, maximum of 10 students per group, facilitated by a facilitator, which is a lecturer. It's process-driven because there's an input and there's an output, and there are activities in between. So what happens is we have converted a 2-hour lecture into PBL. During the first, and this PBL, there are 3 sessions. The first session, the students is given a trigger. The students have no knowledge what is going to happen during the first session. The trigger is devised by the facilitator with the specific aims and objective of ensuring the learning outcomes are achieved. So the first session, the trigger is given to the students. During the first session, they clarify certain terms in the trigger. Subsequently, they will brainstorm to come out with 10 to 15 learning outcomes. 10 to 15 learning outcomes. Of course, the facilitator will have the 10 to 15 learning outcome in his facilitator notes. So he will guide the students so that these 10 to 15 learning outcomes are listed out. They're not going to look into the details of the learning outcomes. They're just going to list out, oh, this is the information I need to go and find out. So this will take about 2 hours for the students to come out with the 10 to 15. The facilitator is there not to provide the answers, but to guide them. So during this session, one of the students is a leader of the group. As well, there'll be another person doing scribing. And so during the first session, once they've already got the 10 to 15 learning outcomes, they will divide among themselves in order to go and find out information regarding the learning outcomes. So they'll go on their own self-study, self-finding of information from journals, from books, etc., etc. Then they will work towards resolving the trigger. They'll meet among themselves. Again, a second student will take lead in this particular second session. Then only they come to the third session, 5 days later after the first session, to resolve the trigger. During the third session, each student need to present. Their own students will question them on their presentation, and they will resolve the trigger, always guided by the facilitator. So during this 2 hours first session, 2 hours third session, and about 4 hours second session, the students will learn a lot of skills. They'll learn skills in leadership, management of time, soft skills, presentation skills, communication skills, and feedback is given to them on how to improve further. Each of these sessions is assessed. So if the students do not speak up, they don't get marks. So they learn how to speak up. And during our 4-year program, there will be 27 PBL sessions in which every student must go through. So you can imagine there'll be across 27 type of presentation, feedback, learning, time management, and so on. So this is the way that we have developed this to address the concerns of confidence, presentation skill, teamwork, articulating of knowledge. So this is the pedagogy which we feel as a faculty, which has made the change in our students. And good to let you all know that other faculties in the university is now adopting this pedagogy to train our students to be competent in these areas. So with 27 times, you can imagine the students will go through like a training aspect of handling a situation. So we, even during their meeting, we create like a meeting room. In the real world meeting room where they have to present, they have to discuss cases and so forth and so forth. Of course, for our own facilitators, I'll conduct a 2-day training program on PBL and to get the facilitators themselves ready for these PBL sessions. Even the sitting arrangement is important. And so we are firmly believe in our faculty, this is what has actually changed our students' outlook. In actual fact, our first batch of students told me, "Sir, we are introverts." For first session, I remember that very clearly. However, by the time they came to the 4th year, there was a change in them. They could present well. They can speak well. So we were really, really happy with the change in the students as well. Now, experiential learning within our own program, there are many aspects of the experiential learning we are doing. One is the knowledge of drugs, where we have about 200 drugs in which we have a standard template and the students must go and find knowledge, information about many aspects of the drug, from the pharmacological aspect, pharmacokinetic aspect, pharmaceutical chemistry aspects, and so forth. So this is from year 1 to year 4, but it's locked in to the year 4 hospital pharmacy course because the drug information system comes into the particular course. And again, knowledge of drugs is important because in the hospital setting, the pharmacist will be called upon to provide drug information. For clinical pharmacy practice, from year 1, our students go and see a particular patient in a senior citizen's home together with a lecturer on a monthly basis to monitor their medication, what side effect, the outcome management, monitoring, and they look at the many aspects of medication review. Students from year 1 to year 4. At the end of the year 4, they would have actually covered 7 patients with 7 different medical conditions. And as we all know, senior citizens will have a long list of medication. They'll have hypertension, diabetes, dementia, high cholesterol, and so forth and so forth. So the students will learn to talk to the patient, to take blood pressure at site, to check their blood glucose, and so forth. Okay, so this is how we practice our students from year 1 for clinical pharmacy practice. For community pharmacy, we have our own Ministry of Health approved community pharmacy in the campus under the faculty. And there are 4 pharmacists within the faculty who practice at this Quest Pharmacy, we call it. And students are rotated on a continuous basis from year 1 of the program. So they will learn how to set up a professional pharmacy, what are the laws involved in community pharmacy in Malaysia. They'll learn about how to see patients, what record, the IT system used, and so forth. So from year 1, they are again exposed to community pharmacy practice at the university. We have set up an industrial scale pharmaceutical production pilot plant with industrial scale equipment, where our students are again exposed to industrial pharmacy practice over the first 2 years of the program. For clinical pharmacy again, we have appointed practicing clinical pharmacists from the general hospital where we are to take clinical pharmacy courses, and they bring with them case studies, actual case studies from the general hospital to share with the students for the clinical pharmacy courses. Again, we are creating something like a real world type of a situation here. And after relevant courses, like for example, like clinical pharmacokinetics, we will take the student to the general hospital to look at how the therapeutic drug monitoring service is carried out. Now, attachment to actual practice sites is part of the requirement in the Pharmacy Board of Malaysia. So for our students, we'll send them to industrial pharmacy attachment for 8 weeks, 4 weeks in the sterile and 4 weeks in the non-sterile. We'll send them to community pharmacy for 4 weeks, hospital pharmacy, non-direct patient-related attachment like dispensing, with like compounding, drug information, procurement and distribution of drugs within the hospital, 4 weeks, and direct patient-related attachment for another 4 weeks. So there's quite a lot of experiential learning going on within the 4-year program. All the experiential learning I mentioned just now, the students are continuously assessed. And we found that when a particular activity is assessed, the students pay more attention to it and they learn better. So, as I mentioned just now, the problem-based learning, each PBL contributes 10%, and rightfully so because they spend about 8 hours of self-study. So to contribute about 10%. Knowledge of drugs, as I mentioned, the 200 drugs, again, about 10%. The clinical pharmacy, we have all the attachment, they got an attachment logbook. And for clinical pharmacy, just now I mentioned that they go to the senior citizens' home. That is also given proper assessment marks. Community pharmacy, as I mentioned just now, from year 1 to year 4, also contributes about 10%. For all of this, we have a logbook as well. I mentioned just now case studies taken by our adjunct clinical lecturers from the general hospital. So for every clinical pharmacy course, for which we have 6 covering all the major areas, there will be case studies, and each case study carries 2.5%. The case studies are given to the student 1 week beforehand, and they come in ready to discuss the case study together with the clinical pharmacist. Visitation reports are also linked to individual courses, and they're also given marks as well. Now, tutorials, we all know we have tutorials, and after a number of lectures, we have tutorials. But we found out from our own experience in the university that tutorials, somehow students don't come prepared for it. And tutorials somehow turn into another lecturer-driven session. And students just tend to listen or contribute a little here and there. So after much discussion at our faculty, we decided to change here a bit. Tutorials are also assessed in the sense that tutorial discussion points are given to the student 1 week beforehand. They must go through their lecture notes and so on and come for a discussion session on the 10 to 12 discussion points. They're not allowed to refer to notes and so on. So they have to go through the lecture notes before the tutorials. And they have to speak up because marks will be given. And each tutorial carries 2%. Attachments are also assessed. All the attachments are also attached, and we get the feedback from the preceptors who are actually practitioners. So this feedback is also critical for us to assess whether or not our students are coming to the mark that we would like them to be. So let's just look again now at the approach to pharmacy education and practice, the conventional one, the one which I went through when I did my Bachelor of Pharmacy program. The experiential learning component is very minimal. The academic learning component is the vast majority. And the idea is the practice component linking to the experiential learning can be carried out when they do their housemanship or pre-registration training or internship, depending on the term used in different countries. So they've somehow segregate the practice from the academic learning. This is a conventional.
Dato?
Yeah.
Dato, sorry, Dato, the session is going to end. Can you please